Hi guys, I am John Carrick. Today we're looking at 100 Bullets number 1. But before we do that, World Fantasy Tarot, the King of Swords, the Viking. And if you guys know anything about Viking metallurgy, the Ulfbert swords, the Vikings didn't mine for their metal. They collected it from the ocean. The idea of the Lady in the Lake giving men swords is so true. Basically, where they had giant bonfires on the shore, burning reeds that grew along the waterline, those reeds absorbed heavy metals from the ocean. In the pits from the fires, they would find lumps of molten steel, and that's where they refined iron. Really, it's magic. So, again, today is 100 Bullets number 1, set in my hometown, home city of Chicago, Illinois. I grew up in the north suburbs of Chicago, but it was much closer than New York or Los Angeles. It was the big city. And this is a story about some barrio kids. Agent Graves on the cover with Dizzy Cordova. Dizzy could have been played by Michelle Rodriguez if they had ever made the movie while she was still young enough. Gina Carano would have been better, but Gina Carano's not really the right ethnicity. I think Michelle Rodriguez is Puerto Rican, but still, she would have worked for this. So this is Dizzy, and she's got a gun pointed to her head. It's a long story. Brian Azzarello, Eduardo Risso. This scene right here is in my comic. I didn't realize this came out in 1999, not in my comic, but in my novel, The Legend of Ashley Fox, where on Ashley's first or second day at the orphanage, she gets confronted by the Leonas, who are the only female gang on District 13. Anyhow, Dizzy here is getting confronted by these gangster girls who want her to give, this one wants her to give her man a message for her, and that's a big kiss. Dizzy's packing her stuff, getting out of prison. Today is her last day. And here one of the prison guards says something to her about being free, and she's like, she'll never be free because her husband and son were murdered while she was in prison by a rival gang, she believes. So Dizzy's life is destroyed. She had a baby at 15. Oh, this is kind of cool. What do you see, a ballerina or a monster? The Rage. What is this, Bloody Rage, Bloody Beast, some game, some video game. 1999, games had progressed. So here we are back in Chicago. She's on the train on her way home. Here's a gangster. There's a gangster. Everywhere a gangster. Agent Graves gets on. And sits down next to Dizzy and hands her a picture of Hector and her son. I think his name was Emilio. And he explains to her, this is kind of cool too. Remember how in the last one, or the last one we saw, I think it was number 7, where Eduardo Risso has other stories going on in the background, or Brian Azzarello did it, whether it's the writer or the artist. I hope they worked closely together on this. As you can see, look at how many more panels per page we get in modern comics, right? You've got 4 on the top bar just right here, plus 4 more, that's 8, right? 4 plus 4, 8. These guys really pack it in, don't they? All right, so now these guys down here are having some nonsense. They have this is the kind of backstory, like this does not pertain to the story. It doesn't have anything to do with the dialogue going on. Agent Graves is explaining to Dizzy that her husband and son were not murdered by a rival gang, but by these 2 police officers who had originally arrested her. She's like, that doesn't make any sense. He's like, regardless, you'll find all the evidence you need right here in this briefcase. He also explains to her about the magic gun, and that should she kill anyone with it, it will not be investigated. However, should she tell anyone about it, it will apply to her. So the bullets in the gun are untraceable. And of course, she doesn't believe him. This is the first issue. She's suspicious she's just being set up, much like Wiley and Jack were. Smart guys. What's going on here? This is not centered at all. There we go. That's a little bit better. All right, Blade on DVD. Chris Christopherson was in Blade, and if you guys haven't seen Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid by Sam Peckinpah, you really should watch it. Bob Dylan's in it too. He wrote the song Knocking on Heaven's Door for that movie. James Coburn, a bunch of other guys, a bunch of famous guys. Here we go. These guys, so this is Dizzy's brother and his friends, and they are out robbing valet restaurants for cars. Give me the vest. He gets out, picks up this car, takes it. This guy, and they were having a conversation about one of their friends dating trannies. And so this kid explains to this car owner that be careful, she's a handful, because that's not a girl, right? So think about this, 26 years later, how far culture has moved, how far the Jews have shifted the Overton window in Western civilization. And it's finally snapping back. I was saying the whole time this was going on in 2015, 2016, 2020, that the pendulum will swing back. Most of my friends didn't believe me, but it is. It's happening, and it happens fast. Hitler fixed Germany in 3 years. And I remember this, because I was going to animation school, 3D animation and whatnot. We were learning traditional and 3D. So collecting textures was a big part of our, we all had digital cameras because you didn't have a phone back then. And we would just walk around collecting textures, stealing them off the internet. High-res textures were gold back then because you could do anything with them. So here Dizzy has returned home. She's looking through her photos. This is her nephew or her younger brother. It's not quite clear. And he is very happy to see her. I think it's her nephew. And she explains that this little altar where she keeps her picture of Hector and Emilio, and does she pray to them? Sometimes. This is a really cute little scene. Meanwhile, her brother and his friends are out in the garage. This is where the chop shop happens. So this is her brother returning home with his stolen car right here. Meanwhile, Dizzy comes out to the garage and talks with his friends. They have some back and forth. It's mostly exposition about what's been going on and what they think happened and what she now thinks happened because of Agent Graves. You know, they're stuck with the regular narration or narrative, the regular narrative that her husband and son were murdered by a rival gang for no reason. He was out of the sort of gangbanging bit. He was pushing his son in his stroller and they were murdered in a drive-by for no reason. And then the cops killed them. And if they hadn't, these guys would have had to do it. So more and more, it's looking like these corrupt cops really did have something to do with her husband and son's murder. Again, just packed with, and this book is so good, I don't care that there's inset panels. I don't care that they've crushed so many panels into the page because it's that good. It's when it's bad that all of these little things stick out as flaws. And someone mentioned that this could be a little dirtier, but I think it's perfectly fine. Back then back then the world was just getting used to computer colors. And I think that's what a lot of what is going on here. You don't see gradations. These are just solid. They're almost flats, right? In modern coloring, this would just be considered flatted. But it works for this book. So again, more nonsense back and forth about who did what, who's responsible for what. And she storms off. She doesn't like what they're saying to her. She's out for a walk. And guess who shows up? Also, let me flip back a couple pages. Because when she's up in her room with her nephew, she tucks the gun into her pants Where is that scene? It's just one panel. There we go. But look at how well he did with the panties and the little bit of skin that comes in and out over them. It's a really, I mean, this is fucking master artist, Eduardo Risso. So these are the cops. These are them. These are the guys that Graves explained to her had murdered her son and baby. And they're also the ones responsible for killing the gangbangers who they claimed did it. Now, they may have just murdered Dizzy's husband and son for the ability to go attack those other gangbangers because they needed a reason. So it might have just been collateral damage, a setup. It's not something you'd usually put past a pair of cops. So they're talking smack with her. They pull the gun and they're like, oh, you're going back to jail. And now this is weird because it would have taken a couple days for what happens over the next few minutes. But apparently they see or radio back to the office something about this weapon, and they immediately let her go. Oh, here we get 8 Ball and some of the other guys. This is the car. They're switching out the plates and whatnot. This kid is selling the car and he has a ton of money on him. I think this is her brother. And they're like, what are you doing with all that cash? She's like, it's my life savings. Well, why are you carrying it with you everywhere you go? Because it's not safe to leave it anywhere except with him. But you don't want people to see that. Anyhow, the cops have her. They've radioed in the gun. And then they're forced to give it back to her and let her go. But they're going to find out what this is all about. So she goes home. She's utterly confused. They could have taken her to jail. They could have put her back in prison. And they didn't. And yeah, this is it. I mean, it's been a while since I really wanted to see what happens next in the comic. But I was tempted to grab issue number 2 and start reading it right now. That's magnificent. This is one of the finest comic book series ever made. 100 Bullets, Brian Azzarello and Eduardo Risso. This is one where the writer and the artist are doing equal work. Hey guys, I am John Carrick, author of Legacy of a Mad Scientist, The Legend of Ashley Fox. Amazing science fiction fantasy novels for you guys on Amazon, Smashwords, or right here on YouTube as audiobooks. Today's conflicted card, deck 4, is the 2 of clubs. This one says the collapse has happened and you are well away from your family and you have to travel by foot. This could be because it was, say, an EMP and no vehicles will run. And how would you go about doing this? And where would you spend the nights? How would you camp and spend the night? There's a few different things you could do. If you have to go on foot because there's no vehicles, then vehicles are a great place. Vehicles immediately become, what's the right word? Why am I spacing on this? Shelters. Vehicles immediately become a place to spend the night. And even if you can't get into the vehicle, you can use it as a lean-to and, as a shelter to sort of protect yourself from the elements a bit. It also depends on how hot or cold it is wherever you are, but I don't know that I'm really doing this one justice. Actually, night is the best time to travel, especially on roads, because you can get on and off the road with any approaching headlights. They won't see you, and you should sleep during the day because it's a lot easier to get sniped during the day. In Bosnia and Sarajevo, if you guys know who Selko is, he has written a series of survival blogs or books after living through the crazy civil war in Serbia. And he said no one went out during the day because of the snipers. They would just shoot anybody. So everything was done at night. And during the day, everyone hunkered down and, slept. And that's most likely what would happen in the end of the world. So again, we also have a comic book in the description, 100... Ashley Fox, Ninja Babysitter, not 100 Bullets. The Last Valkyrie, it's black and white, but it's great. I'm super happy with it. Ashley meets Valeria and gets promoted to the Order of the Valkyrie. And in terms of yesterday, as you guys notice, I've set out a bunch of stuff here behind me in honor of Chicago. I was really pissed yesterday, and it took almost 20 hours for that anger to sort of fade away. It's still not gone. I still hate blacks. I still hate Mexicans. I'm still an absolute racist because I don't like sharing a community with these people. But, you know, white people have all the same problems all the minorities do, but we have better qualities too. They don't rise to the levels we rise to. We all have the same gutter people, but we do really well when we're disciplined and when we work hard and when we're focused. And if you do that, discipline can get you anything you want, as Jocko Willink said. And I mentioned, this is interesting, I'm finding that in my algorithms, the stuff that I mention on here gets picked up by my cell phone or by whatever, and then gets dumped into my YouTube algorithms. So after I'd mentioned Shia LaBeouf the other day, and then I'd edited some promos for some of his shows, he popped up in my YouTube sort of feed. And apparently he was all dressed like some sort of monk, like a Benedictine monk in brown robes and a little skull cap, and he was talking with these other monks and talking about how his life was just had not gone the way he'd liked it, and nothing was good for him anymore. The drugs didn't work, the women didn't work. And one of the monks said, "You may not have everything you want, but you'll always have everything you need." And that's right out of the New Testament, that line from Jesus, look at how God has clothed the birds and the flowers, and even Suleiman in all his glory was never arrayed as well as these. So take no fear for the morrow, for if God cares for the birds and the flowers, won't he look after you even more? That's the essence of faith. Faith has not been easy for me. My life has been a struggle, but I've been equal to the task. 4 years in the Marine Corps, got to be a water swim combat survival instructor. So I'll drown a motherfucker, learned how to use that beast right there. And, I love the one next to it. This monster, I don't want to sell this. And I was afraid I was going to have to because of the little situation that I'm in right now. But it seems that all right. Well, anyhow, it does seem that I have made enough cash that my rent is going to be covered and I'm not going to have to sell this monster. This is a $1,200 gun and they're only going to give me $500 for it, and then they're going to sell it for $1,000, right? So, and I want more. This is a 45, but I want a 10 millimeter, and I love Kimber. If everything works out for me, and I might be a multi-millionaire here in a very short period of time based on something I've got going on. And if that works out, I'm buying Kimber. I'm buying Kimber guns from the Jew who owns it. A Jew bought it a while ago, and then they got in a bunch of trouble because he started using inferior steel, sort of like they did with Taurus. If you guys don't know about Taurus, and if you guys don't know about guns, you should learn about them. I would love to a skateboard brand called Guns, and then every skateboard would feature a different gun with like a little paragraph about all the specs on it. That would be sick. So anyhow, I hope you guys are having a great day. Please feel free to check out the audiobooks right here. The one with Dr. Fox, this is not the cover that's on the back. The cover on the back is Dr. Fox holding up two of these, looking at them. And this is the Micronics, the mental computer interface that can give you Wi-Fi in your head. But it's a liquid living metal. And he's discovered that by feeding it the equation, a self-contracting equation, something like pi, where it goes on and on and on, and it pulls all the elements of the computer together to get a longer string of numbers, he can cause it to implode and devastate whatever area is around. So that happens in like the third chapter, the Project Epsilon, where a bunch of prisoners blow up an entire facility. So I'm super proud of these books. English, I own the English language. As an author, I own the English language. And God forbid this world goes sideways, because I will kick all you fuckers out. You will not be allowed to speak our language anymore. And That's just me being an asshole. But if you're cool, I'm happy to be cool. If you don't identify as a racist, then we'd never have a race war. I'd be perfectly happy to go back to the 80s or the 90s before all this shit went sideways and just be cool with people based on the content of their character. That's the easy thing for me because I've done so much work to build my character. If you haven't done that, I heard someone say the other day, it's weak people who become evil. And that's so true because they give up and they lean into magic and cheating. Magic is cheating, right? So anytime you're cheating or using deception or using lies to get over on other people, that's black magic. Spelling, it's words, right? So when you're not using work and honest leverage that everyone else can see, then you're cheating. And if you lean into that, your soul can never be fulfilled. You have to do the hard work. If you do the hard work, no one can ever take that away from you. That's actually one of the lines. That's the opening, the sample right in here. If you download the ebook, one of the samples is when Ashley goes to Kung Fu camp. One of the instructors tells the kids that the government, bandits, outlaws, they may come and steal everything you have, burn down your house, murder your family, but they can't take what you know. No one can do that. No one can steal knowledge from you. So I hope you guys are having a great day. I hope you're having a great Friday. I hope you have a great weekend. Please spend time with your friends and family doing something fun, and then spend time doing something creative because it will give your soul joy. Not Kamala Harris joy, but like real, true fulfillment. All right, see you guys tomorrow.